The universe is old, far older than we can possibly comprehend. And buried within its endless void lies a story, one so terrifying, so utterly mind-shattering, that even the greatest civilizations dared not speak of it. Imagine a civilization, so powerful, so advanced, that it could sculpt entire galaxies to its will, a species that had ascended beyond the need for war, for hunger, for even mortality itself. They were not gods, but to lesser beings they might as well have been. They called themselves the Eternals. For over 1 billion years they reigned supreme, stretching their dominion across the cosmic tapestry. Their cities were not bound to mere planets. They built entire artificial star systems, energy constructs woven from the fabric of space itself. Their knowledge spanned dimensions, their technology indistinguishable from magic. They were the architects of order, the silent watchers of creation. And yet, they are gone. Not merely extinct, not conquered, not even vanished. Erased. Every trace of their existence wiped clean from reality, as if they had never been. Their star forges, their gravity palaces, their intergalactic citadels, gone. No ruins, no remains, no cosmic whispers, only silence. The question is not who destroyed them, but what, and perhaps even more terrifying, why? Because if something was powerful enough to erase the greatest civilization in history, then the universe itself may not be as safe as we once believed. But to understand their end, we must first witness their rise. And it began, as all things do, with fire. 1 billion years before the first human carved symbols into stone, before Earth even had its first multicellular life, the Eternals emerged on a world unlike any other. A planet so ancient that even the stars around it had long since burned out, its skies shrouded in eternal twilight. They were not born of flesh, nor of metal. Their bodies were conduits of energy, their forms shifting between states of existence, their minds vast, spanning frequencies beyond mortal comprehension. They were neither biological nor fully synthetic, but something beyond, and they were alone. For the first 10 million years of their existence, they expanded, reaching for the stars in a way no civilization before or after ever could. Unlike the short-lived empires of the younger races, the Eternals had no need for conquest. Why take from others when you could create from nothing? They sculpted entire solar systems, harnessing dark matter to bend reality itself. They reached beyond the edges of the visible universe, unraveling the secrets of time. They were the first to decipher the true nature of existence, a revelation that would both define them and doom them. Because as their knowledge grew, so did their curiosity. They began to notice something, a pattern in the cosmic background radiation, a fluctuation in the very fabric of space. It was subtle, almost imperceptible. But for a race as advanced as the Eternals, it was unmistakable. Something was moving, not through space, not through time, but through reality itself. At first, they believed it to be a natural phenomenon, some unseen force woven into the cosmos. But as they dug deeper, as they listened to the echoes of the void, they realized the truth. It was not a force, it was not a phenomenon. It was watching them. And the moment they saw it, it saw them back. Their golden age was over, and the countdown to their extinction had begun. The Eternals were no strangers to the unknown. They had uncovered the quantum tapestry that wove existence together, bent time itself to their will, and forged civilizations beyond the limits of mortal imagination. But this was something else. They called it the Veil, a name whispered through their vast information networks, passed between the greatest minds of their age. It was a disturbance, an anomaly that defied their understanding. No matter how deeply they analyzed it, no matter how many dimensions they stretched their perception across, they could not define it. It was not light. It was not matter. It was absence. An area of space where even the laws of physics refused to function. It had no mass, no energy signature, no measurable existence, and yet it moved, slowly, purposefully, just beyond the edge of their universe, like a predator circling unseen. For millennia, the Eternals debated, Some believed it was merely a cosmic echo, the afterimage of a universe long dead. Others argued it was a tear in reality itself, a wound inflicted by forces even they could not comprehend. But the most ancient among them, the ones who had transcended into near-immortal states of being, felt something else. They felt fear, something the Eternals had never known. Still, they could not look away. Their greatest scientists constructed vast observation stations at the edge of the known universe, monolithic structures powered by the gravitational cores of dying stars. From these impossible vantage points, they peered deeper into the veil, using technology so advanced that it verged on godhood. And then the signal came. A pulse. A pattern. Not random, but structured. Something from beyond the veil had responded. The Eternals hesitated. Some urged silence. Do not answer, do not call back. But curiosity, the same force that had driven them to godhood, proved stronger than caution. They answered. A single transmission, a greeting encoded in the very essence of the universe. And for the first time in a billion years, something answered back. It was not a voice, it was not a message. It was understanding. The Eternals saw it, not with eyes, for they had long abandoned such primitive senses, but with their very essence, a shape that defied comprehension. A presence that had existed before time itself, and in that moment they knew. The veil was not a boundary, not a force of nature, not even an unknown species. It was the remains of something greater, something that had once ruled everything, something that had been imprisoned. And now, it was waking up. The moment they made contact, a change rippled across the cosmos. The Eternals, masters of space and time, suddenly found something they had never encountered before. Something impossible, an absence in their own records. Entire star systems erased from their archives, as if they had never existed. Planets they had cultivated for millennia, gone, not destroyed, but rewritten. Even their own minds, hive intellects of unimaginable power, began to falter, their memories degrading like sand slipping through their fingers. Something was rewriting reality itself, and it was starting with them. The Eternals, once the apex civilization of the cosmos, now faced a terrifying truth. They had woken something that should have remained asleep, and it had already begun to consume them. For the first time in a billion years, the Eternals knew terror. They had ruled over the fabric of reality itself, bending space and time to their will. Yet now, something was unraveling them. Entire cities, entire worlds vanished overnight, not through destruction, but through non-existence. It was as if they had never been. No ruins, no echoes of their presence in the quantum streams. The Eternals could no longer even remember them. Something was devouring them from history itself. And so, for the first time since their ascension, they prepared for war. But how does one fight an enemy that does not exist? Their greatest minds, entities who had long since abandoned physical form, pooled their knowledge, searching for an answer. Theories emerged, speculations that shattered their very understanding of reality. The veil was not merely a prison, was a tomb. A construct older than the universe itself, built to contain something that had once ruled over all existence, a force so vast, so incomprehensible, that the only way to defeat it was not to destroy it, but to erase it from memory itself. But by observing it, by acknowledging it, by remembering it, the Eternals had undone the very thing that had kept it at bay. They had set it free, and now it was reasserting itself. Reality was reshaping around its return. Desperate, the Eternals constructed their greatest weapon, the Omega Crucible, a machine capable of sealing entire sections of reality in a timeless void, effectively removing them from the flow of existence. If they could not destroy this entity, they would entomb it once more. A final battle was waged, not in space, not with ships or armies, but on the very foundation of reality itself. The Eternals tore open the fabric of time, weaving paradoxes, constructing impossible geometries to lock their enemy away, and for a moment, it worked. For a moment, the veil began to reform, but then It spoke. Not in words, not in thought, but in absolute knowing. A single realization crashed into the minds of the Eternals, shaking them to their core. You cannot erase the first. I was before the concept of time. I was before the notion of existence. I am not something you can remove me, because I am the foundation upon which all things were built. And with that, the Eternals understood. They had not awakened something that had been defeated in the past. They had awakened the original architect of existence, and it had returned to reclaim what was once its own. The crucible failed. Reality itself shattered. The Eternals, the most powerful civilization in history, found themselves unmade. Not in fire, not in war, but in forgetting. Their cities faded, their records unraveled, their essence dissolved into the void. One by one, the greatest minds in the universe ceased to be, until nothing remained, nothing except silence, and as the last traces of the Eternals were erased, a new reality took shape, one without them, one where they had never existed. The entity had reclaimed its domain, and the universe continued on, unaware that the greatest civilization in history had ever been. The Eternals were gone, not destroyed, not conquered, unmade, and yet something was wrong. Reality had been rewritten, history rearranged to fill the void left behind. But the process was imperfect. Like a shattered mirror hastily pieced back together, cracks remained, small, almost imperceptible, remnants, echoes. The younger civilizations, oblivious to the loss of the greatest species in history, began to see things. Fragments of structures that should not exist, ancient star systems with inexplicable energy signatures, gravitational anomalies where entire worlds should have been, artifacts of a forgotten age. But the most chilling discovery was this: some of them remembered, not fully, not consciously, but in dreams, in scattered thoughts that surfaced like whispers in the dark. Beings across the cosmos, humans, synthetics, creatures that should have had no connection to one another, began experiencing the same visions, fleeting glimpses of towers that reached beyond the stars, of vast, shimmering cities floating upon the fabric of space, of a civilization that had never existed, yet somehow felt familiar. And then there was the sound, a frequency buried deep in the cosmic background radiation, hidden in the fundamental vibrations of existence. Scientists dismissed it at first, random noise, a trick of physics, until they amplified it and heard the voices. Millions of them, overlapping, crying out in languages that had no record, speaking words that sent shivers through the soul. Not screams of terror, not cries for help, but something far more disturbing. They were warning us. The veil had returned to its slumber, its hunger satisfied, for now. But the entity that had consumed the Eternals was not a conqueror. It was not a destroyer. It was a correction, a force that had existed before time, before reality, before even the concept of existence itself, and it had not erased the Eternals out of malice. It had erased them because they were a mistake, something that had grown too powerful, something that had reached beyond the natural order of things. The Eternals had glimpsed truths they were never meant to see, and for that they had been removed. But if they were a mistake, if even they had been erased for reaching too far, then what did that mean for the rest of us? The younger species, the rising empires, the civilizations, still clawing their way toward the stars, were they being watched? Was there a limit to how far a species could ascend before they too would simply cease? And if so, how close were we to crossing it? The question remained. How close were we to crossing the line? The Eternals had risen, to power unlike any before them. They had conquered time, sculpted galaxies, and unraveled the deepest secrets of existence. But in doing so, they had unknowingly summoned the first and final force, the entity that had written the very laws of reality, and had the power to rewrite them. And now the universe had been corrected, but the echoes of their existence had not been fully silenced. The anomalies persisted, glitches in the fabric of space. Astronomers found entire regions of the cosmos where the stars did not behave as they should. Astrobiologists uncovered planets that had no business existing, worlds too old, too perfectly designed, as if sculpted by something beyond nature. More troubling still, the visions did not stop. Scholars across hundreds of civilizations, scientists, and dreamers alike began speaking of the forgotten ones. They did not know why, nor could they recall where they had first heard the name. But the phrase spread like an infection, whispered in secret by those who glimpsed something they were never meant to see. It was as if the universe itself was struggling to maintain the lie. And then came the final revelation, the signal, the same frequency that had once carried the warnings of the Eternals, changed. For centuries it had been nothing but echoes, scattered voices lost in static. But now the pattern shifted, the noise coalesced into something clearer, something deliberate, one final message. Do not reach beyond the edge of reality. Do not call out to the darkness. Do not seek the architects of existence. For if you do, they will come again. And then, silence. The signal stopped, not faded, not weakened. Stopped, as if it had been noticed, as if the very act of remembering had drawn attention, and in that moment, a question burned itself into the minds of those who had listened, a terrifying thought they dared not speak aloud. Had they been watching all along? Was there a threshold, a point at which progress became a mistake? And if so, were we already too close? The cosmos continued as it always had, vast, indifferent, infinite. But somewhere beyond the edges of what we could perceive, something waited. Not with anger, not with hatred, but with judgment. And when the time came when the next civilization dared to reach beyond the limit, would they suffer the same fate, or had the Eternals merely been the first, but not the last? What do you think? Could our greatest triumph, our pursuit of knowledge, also be our greatest danger? Could we, like the Eternals, unknowingly summon something that should have remained forgotten? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more stories like this, of lost civilizations, ancient cosmic horrors, and the terrifying mysteries of deep space, be sure to like, share, and subscribe to XenoChronicles, because the universe is far older than we think, and some stories should never be forgotten.